next up, see what else we got in that we want to shine a little bit of a spotlight on. One of my favorites, I have plenty of these at home, Goldiella equis, the horsehead catfish from much of the Amazon basin. It's in a few countries down there. Wonderful fish, maximum size about 10-12 inches in captivity. It's not incredibly predaceous, though it is a meat eater. They're very sturdy. I've had a lot of luck keeping them with other catfish, other bottom dwellers. As long as there's enough hides for them, they'll take about whatever frozen food I throw at them. But they're also pretty tough. I'd say that they'd be a definite fit in with some feistier cichlids as well, or other things that might be a little bit more aggressive on average. Okay, let's pick up another one, see what we got. This is a very interesting fish, the Congo Gara, Gara congoensis, obviously from, drumroll please, the Congo. It's pretty different from most of the Garas I'm familiar with, of course being from Africa. They're very active, come from very fast-flowing parts of the Congo, and they spend a lot of time kind of hopping around. They're also an omnivore that seems to be a little bit of a worse algae eater than some of the other Garas, but definitely will still help. Just a very odd little fish, but very fun to watch, always on the move, constantly looking for something. Alright, we'll dig around once more in our box of fish, see what we got. This is a very interesting one, Lazian sistris sp Rio Mamon, from the Rio Mamon in Peru. Lazian sistris is not a genus that shows up in the aquarium hobby all that often. I found that most of them that I have cared for are very good algae eaters. I'm going to hazard a guess that this guy is going to be like most of the ones I've seen in this genus, get about 5-6 inches long, pretty good algae eater, nice old growth tank would be great for them. Obviously, very little is known about this fish, given that they've been so recently imported, but otherwise looks like it's going to be a nice, skinny, cool-looking pleco that will spend quite a bit of time being industrious and coming out and looking interesting. They've got a very slender body compared to a lot of plecos, even in females, which is kind of interesting. Alright, next up we have Pseudotropheus sp jewel spot, sometimes labeled as elongatus jewel spot. There's a couple different locations of these in Lake Malawi, where they come from. It's a fish that takes a little bit of time to start coloring up and really showing that beautiful black with like whitish blue hues on it, hence the jewel spots. Gets about 3.5 inches long, and it's pretty sturdy, definitely a feistier one, so you'd want to make sure to have kind of a rough and tumble mbuna tank or sturdy other Malawis to go with. But they're a very nice omnivore. Here they're, like I mentioned, not showing a ton of color, just inklings of eventually the beauty that they're going to have. But not a super commonly seen fish, just one of my absolute favorite mbunas that we carry. Let's see what else we got. Maybe focus on something a bit more community friendly. Oh, there we go. The Peruvian rummy nose, Pedicella georgiae. It's a very pretty fish. Acts very similar to a lot of the other rummy nose tetras in the hobby. This one's nice in that it actually does have a really, really outstanding tail. Even gets some hues of yellow into it when I've kept it before. Very peaceful, very tight schooling tetra. I would preferably keep these in groups of at least 10 because they like being so buddy-buddy. But nice red nose, nice black and white to the tail for now that, like I mentioned, eventually gets a little bit of yellow to it. Just a good community tetra. Never gonna bother anyone, never gonna cause problems, and that color as it settles in is just amazing. Alright, let's see who else we got in here. Oh, this is a beauty. These are sometimes called panda barbs, sometimes called red melon barbs, or some fusion of those two. Halidaria fasciata from India. This is a great barb. I found it to be nice and active, nice and peaceful, and depending on the location it comes from, you'll get a pretty wide array of spots and bands, and then that beautiful melon color to them. I've always wanted to keep this fish, and it's been a long time since I have. Just a great schooler that move around, and unlike the bad rap that a lot of barbs unfortunately get, not one that I found to be nippy. Here we're keeping them with close relative, the rose-lion shark, another nice peaceful schooler, and that red on male just pops as they settle in and grow a little larger. Alright, let's see who's next. Have Cryptoheros, sometimes also labeled as Amatlania or Archicentris cutteri. Beautiful little fish, cutter cichlid. It's kind of a close convict relative, but acts a little different from Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize. Beautiful Central American cichlid that's pretty sturdy. I would hesitate to say mean, but definitely should go in with a feistier setup. Maximum size of 5 inches, nice blue and black and white hues to this fish. In breeding dress, it gets absolutely stunning contrast, almost like sheer white and black. It's an omnivore. It'll eat about whatever you throw at it. It's also a very good parent, much like some of their close relatives. Not commonly seen, and this is nice. It's see who else. Oh, there's a nice one. South American moth catfish, Physiopixis lyra. Looks just like the dwarf anchor cats that you'll sometimes see in the trade, but it's actually not very closely related at all. Still has those nice bony pectoral fins and kind of that anchor shape. So they're from Peru. They stay very small, about 1.5 inches, little omnivores. As you can see, they actually do swim around a little bit, and they like to pile up in little congregations. I really like this fish. They don't seem to be hard to care for at all, and unfortunately they don't ever seem to show up. I've been told they kind of look like little bugs, but I don't know how inclined I am to agree with that. Just a nice little rare catfish. There's one swimming about now, looking for food and exploring its new environment. Alright, let's see if we can keep our catfish roll going with these. Corydoras similis, one of my favorites, sometimes called the smudge spot cory or the violet cory. Gets maximum about 2 inches. It's a beautiful little Corydoras from Brazil, like most cories, an omnivore. The color on these as they settle in is awesome. Nice kind of bright orangey yellow, and then they get tiny little purple spots all over the body, as well as that big one near the tail, hence the smudge spot name. But just a gem of a fish. Good schooler, peaceful, color's great. Not too hard to find, but unfortunately just uncommon enough, that you don't see it every day. Even at this small size, you start to see some of that nice contrast show up. It's just a great, great little cory. See who else is left. Oh, there we go. Raccoon tiger shrimp, sometimes labeled as Caridina sp tiger. Is a very interesting little guy, wild caught, which is interesting to me personally. They naturally come like this from Southeast Asia. Like a lot of the shrimp that are commonly kept in the hobby, they stay small, get maybe about 1 inch. Good scavengers, cleaner uppers for a mature tank or a heavily planted tank that has a little bit of algae. Of course, being Caridina, you want to make sure that the water is nice and completely clean for them, as well as nice and soft. Here, they like to just kind of pick around at the rocks and anything else we throw at them, but I really like some of the orange patches on these, as well as that black and white striping. I think it's really nice, and I'd also like to get around to taking some of these home and breeding them and seeing what pops up. Alright, last but not least, we have the spotted hillstream loach, Swellia SP SEW01, using their numeric designation. It's a really, really pretty hillstream loach. They normally come in with some good size, and they'll get about 2.5 inches long. These come from Vietnam. Really nice kind of light yellow spotting with a lot of black going on. One of my favorite parts of these guys, as opposed to other hillstream loaches that we'll get in, is they seem to be a bit more bold. They do spend quite a bit more time coming out and chasing down food, and they're omnivores like other hillstream loaches, which means you can throw most everything at them and they'll swoop down like a weird little hawk and grab it. I like throwing flake food or algae wafers at mine and watching them dart down for it, but they'll take most everything I've offered. There's also a few rare ones that show up every once in a while that are a little bit more reflective that might be a new species.
If you saw something you can't live without, be free to stop in or shoot us an email and we'll be happy to add the next denizens to your aquarium.